What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is going to be your review of Bel Air Season 1, Episode 8. So, oh, excuse me. We open up this episode dealing with the aftermath of the party, right? So, Uncle Phil has Carlton out playing golf, and he is punishing him. And listen, Carlton's punishment is that he got to carry Uncle Phil's golf clubs instead of getting on the golf cart. I hope it's more to this punishment. That's all I'm going to say. And then Carlton had the nerve to be mad, talking about something. We did minimal damage to the house, and all we got was a noise ordinance, and nothing happened. And Uncle Phil was like, yeah, that's because I basically had to, like, threaten the police commissioner to keep it out of the press and not do anything because Fred is running against me, and it would look like favoritism if, you know, they were coming at, I mean, not favoritism, but it would look like maybe they were coming after me through my kids. But here's the thing that I was a little frustrated with that whole situation. Carlton, you're smarter than that. You have to know and understand that what you did, especially the fact that Fred is now running against your daddy, you have to know that there's going to be a negative effect there. Like, you too smart for that, Carlton. Like, stop. And then Carlton was like, you made a deal for me, Dad? And, you know, Uncle Phil was like, I always got your back, son. No, you did that for you. That wasn't about protecting Carlton. That was about you. Because let's be clear, if you were not in the middle of this campaign, you wouldn't really be that pressed. And you wouldn't have had no leverage. But whatever. Moving on. So, later on in the day, Uncle Phil is trying to run down an assemblyman trying to get his endorsement. And the assemblyman is like, listen, I don't know how I feel about, you know, endorsing you because your family got some issues. He was like, you know, you have, you know, your wife has been absent ever since she had an outburst at a charity event. You know, your daughter is all over to the good Instagram and her sexy chef situation. And your son is throwing wild parties that get the police called. Like, yeah, bruh, I don't know about endorsing you because you got to get your family in check. And Uncle Phil, once again, you're not this naive. You're not this stupid. You know that anything that your family does is going to be a reflection on you and it's going to affect your campaign. Uncle Phil talking about some, but that doesn't have anything to do with me. Bruh, you are running for public office. Everything has to do with you. We stop playing this hands off, keep the family out of it. Like that, I don't know if that ever played in politics because, listen, I mean, I hate to be the history buff and all of this, but that's how the whole world found out about Sally Hemings. Because the person that was running against Thomas Jefferson put all his business in the street, okay? And that is taking it back to the 1800s, the early 1800s at that. So all I'm saying is, this ain't nothing new when it comes to politics. So Uncle Phil, I'm going to need you to stop acting like you don't understand how this go, okay? Now, while all of this is going on, the other thing was they worried about splitting the vote and, you know, making sure that the Republican wins because now you got two viable Democrats in the election. And we found out this is a special election. So this isn't even like a normal election situation. Moving on. But while all this is going on, the reason why, and so the other problem is Carlton want to know, well, why isn't what's his name? Will being punished. Well, come to find out it is Will's birthday, and his punishment is just being delayed, not denied, okay? His mama is coming in, and they done flew his mama in on a private jet. Now, in light of what we find out later on in this episode, I feel like that was a little flexing. I feel like they could have put your ass in first class just like they did Will, but they sent you on the private jet to LA. They was flexing a little bit, okay? Not in a bad way, because let's be clear. I wish I had a family member that was rolling like that could send a private jet for me. And I'm going to get all up on the private jet. But again, we'll get back to that. Poor Hillary is trying to figure things out. She likes the attention she got from the sexy chef video. She likes the endorsement. We found out she ended up with like 3 million views or whatever. But she really doesn't want to go down that road. She really doesn't want that to be her brand, and she's trying to do other things, but Kylo was like, girl, I mean, I can't make you do nothing you don't want to do, but at the end of the day, I know that you like the attention you got, you like the views that you got. So I mean, just make it happen. Like, put another video up. And at first, she tries to pretend like, well, I just don't want to, saturate, keep the people waiting. I'll do some regular tutorials, and then we'll kind of splice the sexy, chef in from time to time. But you can tell she really ain't feeling that, right? But you can also tell that Kylo is 100%, this is how we need to go with your brand. Now, we back at the house, and of course, Aunt Viv ain't been to visit LA since their wedding. And, she said, yeah, the wedding, we was broke. We ain't had none of this. She was like, yeah, I see you living good, honey. You living real good up in here. And almost immediately, we see, I'm going to be a little different on this one, right? I feel like almost from the beginning, Aunt Viv, she showed up with some shit, okay? She showed up with a chip on her shoulder. She showed up ready to start some you-know-what up in this dancery. And you could tell that there's just tension there. Now, we're going to get to the bottom of it later on. The other thing that Aunt Viv showed up, Viv. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Will Mama. She also going to tell Aunt Viv that she think it's time for her to tell Will about his daddy. Now, again, a part of me feels like that if she blows up Will's world and tells Will about his daddy, which clearly is not going to make Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv look pretty good, because she was immediately nervous and worried and was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is what you getting ready to do. Like, why are you going to do this? Why are you going to do this? So immediately that tells me that there's a whole situation here that is not going to make them look good. And I almost feel like you want to tell Will about his daddy, so that means that he'll come home instead of staying in LA, because now he won't want to deal with them anymore. I don't think it's about Will. She's talking about someone, he's 17, he need to know. That's about you, once again, trying to control him and get him to come back home without looking like the bad guy. Now, while this is going on, Lisa then texted Will talking about something, I'm in the pool house. And she lures him to the pool house, and she trying to get her little piece in. Listen. How Lisa just wandering around the grounds like this? Ain't she on punishment? Her daddy told her to stay away from Will. Anyway, Will stops her and says, woo, I mean, as much as I would love to, I got my mama in the next house. I mean, and that probably ain't going to be a good look that I'm down here with you instead of spending time with my mama. Excuse me, y'all. But she understands. She said, listen, your mom is here. I definitely understand, but they're having a party for Will the next day, and she's invited to the party. He was like, I want to introduce you to my mom at the party. And she was like, yeah, but, they also talk about the fact that Carlton has been icing her out ever since he found out about her and Will. What did you expect? Because I still feel like Will and Lisa are both wrong in this situation. But again, that's water under the bridge, I guess, at this point. It happened. It is what it is. And they're a couple now, child. So, next thing you know, we're back at the house. And all the kids are coming in. And Aunt Vi, you can tell that they've seen each other since Aunt Vi, Uncle Phil got married. She just hasn't been to LA. They've been to Philly. And so, they're all happy to see each other. And it's all like yada, yada, yada. And we find out that Will's mom follows Hillary on social media, and even be in her comments and be really, having her back and be supporting her. But we also found out on the flip end, that her mama is blocked. Like, how you block your mama? Because she said that her mama is a secret hater. Hey Viv, what you doing down in the comments that your daughter had to block you? Now, admittedly, I won't accept my mama's friend request on Facebook. But if I actually had accepted her request, I don't think I would block her. But that's why I didn't accept her request. It's not going to happen. Anyway, so Hillary says a very innocent question. Why do we stop going out to Philly for, the grandmas? I think they said that she used to always have like a cookout or whatever. And they said, grandma got sick and, things just weren't, she just couldn't do it anymore. And we start to see part of the problem and what has been going on with the sisters. We found out that when the mother got sick Aunt Vi stepped up. Aunt Viv, Will Mama, stepped up to take care of her mom, whereas Aunt Vi sent a check. And Will's mama is like, listen, checks pay the bills, but checks don't change bedpans. And I needed, help. I didn't need, well, the money I'm sure helped. So the two of them got to arguing, and Will had to cut them off and be like, listen, we're not doing this again. Like, y'all used to argue like this when grandma was dying. It didn't help then, and it doesn't help now. Like, it is what it is. Let's just move forward, right? Let's just move forward. So, but again, like I said, you start seeing the little crackety crack cracks in the situation. So, Uncle Phil was there, and later on, Uncle Phil and Aunt Vi are talking, and they have a conversation with Hillary about her slutty chef situation, because Uncle Phil is letting her know, like, this is affecting my campaign, like, I need you to stop. And he said, you told us you were going to stop it anyway. And she was like, well, I'm just trying to figure it out. And they end up having this whole conversation about how, black women, how black women can't own their sexuality. And, when white women do it, it's just a great thing. When black women do it, it's, a horrible thing. And he was like, okay, all that is not, like, come on, stop. All that's for the birds. At the end of the day, I need you to do better. And Aunt Viv basically just tells her, listen, think real hard if this is what you want your brand to be. Like, this is what your image is. Is this what you want it to be? And later on that night, Uncle Phil was like, I really needed you. Like, why? I needed you to have my back. Like, why didn't you have more to say? And she said, look, I hear what you're saying, but we have bigger fish to fry, okay? We have more important things going on. Aunt Vi is talking about telling Will about his daddy. And the fact, like, I don't know what that whole story is, but the fear that put in both of them, it just, and I feel like we're not going to get that story till next season. I feel like that's something that we're not going to get. And so Uncle Phil was like, why? Like, why is she doing that? And she was like, I don't know. Something about Phil, Will being old enough to get the story or whatever. And he was like, oh my gosh. So she's going to try to stick close to Aunt Vi, so that she doesn't, decide to do it. And later on, we see him talking to Jeffrey about it. Jeffrey actually set up a meeting with him and Fred, because he's going to try to talk to Fred and see if they can try to come up with some sort of viable situation that can fix this, so that they, for this election. So, but he also tells Jeffrey, listen, I got another job I need you to do. He was like, I need you to take care of Will's dad, Leo. I think his name was Leo. Basically, it sounds like he doesn't know about Will, is what it sounds like, because Jeffrey ends up telling him, I don't really feel comfortable doing that. Like, at first he said yes, and then it seemed like he had to think about it, and he was like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And Uncle Phil was like, well, I mean, it's a good thing I wasn't really asking your opinion. He was like, with my situation with my son, like, that's just uncomfortable with me. And Uncle Phil was like, okay, but I wasn't asking you, I was telling you. And Jeffrey was like, I don't want to do it. And he was like, well, it's a good thing, you work for me, like, I pay you. And you could see the look on Jeffrey's face when he said that. Like, I believe it was a combination of anger and hurt. And Jeffrey was like, okay, understood. Like, all right then. So while all of this is going on, Aunt Viv, Will Mama, she's actually hinting around at about Will's dad, and instead of not really coming right out with it, but put it out there. About his dad. And of course, at first Will was like, I don't care nothing about him. Like, I don't care, about what he needs. And, he left me, I don't care. But then the next morning, while his mother is making him his favorite foods for breakfast, he says, you got me thinking last night about it. And, I'm wondering, can you tell me some things about my dad? Do I look like him? And of course, his mother, she blows him off because she's sort of having second thoughts at this point. So she sort of blows him off. But we see now that y'all done piqued Will's interest, and you got him talking about his dad now, thinking about his dad. So that morning, like I said, she cooked breakfast for everybody. Her and Will are going out sightseeing for the day and everything. And shout out for the cameo of Quincy Jones, star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. We know Quincy Jones, did the music score and was one of the, I believe he was a producer on the original Fresh Prince. But throughout that day, her and Will are having a great time. They're enjoying themselves. And he asked about his dad again. And so she tells him, your dad, basically, he was no good. He was a dreamer. He always had a get-rich quick, scheme. And I ended up having to clean up his messes. Like, that's what ended up happening all over town. And I ended up having to put those fires out. Will was like, wow, I'm sorry to hear that. And she was like, it is what it is. But, he was a dreamer. And, he made my life hard, And so, again, you think that that's enough to sort of satisfy Will, but like I said, you got you turn that light bulb on. So Aunt Viv met them for lunch, and you kind of got the impression that Will mama didn't really want her to come along for lunch, but she ended up coming for lunch, and they got to talking about all the great things Will has going on and all the great opportunities that are going on for Will. And again, you see this tension, you see this cattiness between the two sisters, and a lot of it is jealousy. We don't like to admit when we're jealous of things, but it's a human emotion. Jealousy is a human emotion, whether we like to admit it or not. And you could tell that she feels some kind of way that Will has created this great life for himself in LA away from her, right? So we see Hillary change her mind. We see her set her camera up. She got her lingerie on, and she gets ready to start filming this video, and she hears her mother's voice in her head saying, "Is this really what you want? Is this really the brand you want?" And she turns the camera off and realizes that this isn't what she wants to do. So she goes to Kylo and she tells him, and Kylo basically reads her. He says, "Listen, this is what I would expect." She's like, "What you mean?" He said, "Well, you never finish anything. Like, you always, you dropped out of college, you quit every job you had, even internships, even your online personas have changed." He said, "But that's what people have the luxury of doing when they don't have to worry about paying their bills." And, basically she was like, "F you. You don't know me. You don't know my life. Don't be trying to come at me and throwing things in my face that you don't know anything about." She said, "That's just not the brand that I want." And he was like, "Yeah, but you really did like it when you were getting those sponsors and you was getting all those clicks." And she was like, "But, I don't want to do it. That's not what I want my brand to be. And I'll figure it out." And he was like, "Yeah." She said, "It really don't have nothing to do with you." She was like, "If you don't like it, I can just leave." He was like, "Yeah, but just remember, if you leave, all the content that you created while you were here belongs to me." Meaning that video, that slutty cook video that she made belongs to him. She can't even reap the benefits off of it monetarily because it's not hers. She doesn't own it. He said, "And you owe me a quit fee." And you could see the look on her face, and he was like, "You didn't read your contract?" Which, again, Hillary, you grew up with a lawyer in the house. How could you not read the contract, girl? Anyway, so that's kind of where they left at. Then we see Uncle Phil meet up with Fred, and Uncle Phil says, "Listen, we need to figure something out because right now we have two Democrats in the race. We are splitting the vote, and the Republican is going to be a shoe-in to win." He said, "We have a debate coming up, and how about whoever's in the lead coming out of the debate, the other person drops out and throws their endorsement behind the winner." And excuse me. And Fred agrees to it. And I'm thinking, oh, Uncle Phil, you setting yourself up. Like, I know that you probably feel like you're the better debater because you're a lawyer and all of that. But I think you are grossly underestimating what Fred got going on. So I don't know what that's going to look like. But I know it's going to be ugly because that was too easy. Fred agreed to it, and they agreed way too easy. So, okay. So it's the night of Will's party. Uncle Phil is running late. He's bringing dinner, but he's running late. And so they decide they're going to open up the gifts. And we saw, before they get to that part, we saw Will's mom talking to Carlton. And she tells him, she says, I know that at one point in time, both of y'all wanted brothers. And, Carlton was like, yeah, after Ashley, I wanted a brother. And she was like, yeah, Will always wanted a brother too. And now look at y'all, you know what I mean? Y'all basically have become brothers. And her not knowing the whole situation with Lisa and all of that. And Carlton was like, you know what? I guess you're kind of right. And I think that Carlton and Will's relationship really has been built up over the last couple of weeks. And I think Carlton likes that. He's hurt by the Lisa thing, but I think he really does want a relationship with Will. And later on in the episode, we saw that they actually did talk. And Carlton was honest with him and said, listen, I was struggling before you got here. Like, I have to be perfect. I was struggling with my team. I was struggling with my grades. I was still hurt over my breakup with Lisa. And, you come to town and everybody likes you and you become a popular kid at school. And it just seems like everything came to you so easy. It hurt me and it embarrassed me and it hurt me. And, Will was like, so it was kind of like the last straw, the straw that broke the camel's back. And he was like, yeah, it sort of was. He said, but I don't want to fight with you. He said, the thing with Lisa, it hurts. But me and Lisa were over a long time ago. And I just, whoever the next person is, I just, I wish them well, right? I just have to kind of congratulate them or whatever and move on. So they shake on it and they agree that they're going to be, cordial to each other from here on out. Now, I feel like that might last for the remainder of this season, but I don't know so much about when we get into next season because we got to have some Will Carlton drama, right? We know that on the show, Will and Carlton, the original show, Will and Carlton, actually, it did end up becoming really good friends, but that doesn't mean they didn't still have their moments, right? Now, they go to open up the gifts because Uncle Phil is running late, and they go to open up the gifts, and his mom wants him to open her gift first, and I knew this was going to be ugly, because I said, now, good and well, he got all kinds of name brand, high-end shit. He opens up his mama gift, and it's a picture of her holding him. And it's really nice, don't get me wrong, it's very nice, it's a nice picture. And of course, Will was like, I've never seen this picture before. Who took this picture? Who took this picture? And they sidestepped it. So, of course, it must mean that his daddy took the damn picture, right? And Will let them sidestep it, but I'm pretty sure that Will knew who took the picture. So he opens up the next box from Aunt Viv, and it's like some limited edition Jordans that were actually signed by Michael Jordan. Now, Aunt Viv gonna sit there and act like she ain't know how expensive the sneakers were. Girl, you knew exactly what you were doing. And do I think she was trying to show her sister up as much as she was just showing off, I guess? But either way, that pissed off Aunt Viv. Her and Aunt Viv got to arguing, and baby, it all came out. And she started talking about how you left us. You didn't care about the fact that all the sacrifices made it possible for you to be out here painting. I bought you your first paint set. We found out that earlier that she had bought her first paint set. And we made the sacrifices for you to get up and go to college, and you came out here to LA and you were doing your own thing and you never looked back. You forgot all about us and you left us. You made it big. You doing good for yourself and you forgot about us. And she said, are you trying to do the same thing to my son? And so, she is, both of them end up storming out. And of course, everybody's sitting around looking like, damn, like that got real ugly. Like, oh my goodness. So, he comes back. So we see Carlton go after his mom. And actually, it was very interesting because Carlton said, listen, yeah, your sister says some not so nice things about you. However, did you ever stop to think and look at it from her point of view? Like, she did do a lot for you. She did sacrifice a lot for you, and did you leave them hanging? Like, you got to kind of look at it from her point of view. And Aunt Viv was like, oh my gosh, like, you're right. Like, because at first she was like, I ain't apologizing to her because she said this and she said that. Now, while that's going on, Will is outside talking to his mother, and kind of, he's not quite saying the same thing, but he's saying, like, listen, she may have said some things to you, but you threw some grenade launches your damn self. Like, you are not innocent in this. Like, you said some stuff that didn't need to necessarily be said. So she was like, well, Aunt Vi ends up coming out, because Will was like, I know you're not thinking she's going to come out here and apologize. But she does end up coming out to talk to her sister. And she apologizes. And she says, she said, first of all, I could, and Will told her, she could never, like, you are my mom. Like, you raised me. You are my mom. And that's never going to change. You're going to always be my number one. And she said, I could never take the place, what you did. Like, because she even said to Carlton, and Viv even said to Carlton, like, she's resilient. She's the strong one. Like, she raised Will on her own. She put herself through college. Like, and Carlton looked at her like, you think that's what she wanted to be? Like you're saying it like, if she could have done it an easier way, she would have, and that's when, Aunt Viv was like, yeah, I guess I kind of see what you're saying. So the two of them do actually end up, making up. Again, it's going to take time because it ain't happen overnight. It ain't going to be fixed overnight. But the last thing we see Jeffrey in Uncle Phil's office, and he has an envelope, and I'm pretty certain it's his resignation. And he's getting ready to put it on the desk, and then Will comes to talk to him. And so he puts the envelope away before Will can see it. And Will says, yo, G, I need a favor. And he was like, well, what can I do? And he said, well, I want to know if you can help me get some information on my dad. Like, where did he go after he left us? And, all of that. And Jeffrey was like, listen, I don't know if those answers are going to make things any easier for you. He said, so I don't know about getting you any of those answers. He said, but as far as finding out where your father is, I might be able to help you with that. And so I think that's about to get ugly, because I don't think Jeffrey know the whole story, and I think he gonna open up Pandora's box. But anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in the comments. Peace.